when life was all falling apart. I didn't know what I was doing, I'd lost direction, felt like I was failing at life and that was it, it's over. And it all started to feel real then, hence why my friends have decided that I'm now semi-retired at 25. Hello, I'm Hayden.Bloomfield and welcome to the channel. How I became a uni dropout to successful business owner or semi-retired at 25. I will point out I didn't call myself semi-retired. This was a conversation I had with my friends the other week and talking about just what I do on a day-to-day basis, and it was established that quintessentially I am semi-retired. If you don't know about my uni story, check out, I'll try and remember to put a card in the corner to this video of the story of how I became a uni dropout. I came out of uni and the only job, I've only ever been employed for 3 months of my life, and that was at TGI's. I don't even know how it works because I did like a month or two over a summer and then went to uni and then worked there during Christmas holidays. So I've only ever actually been employed for a short period of time. Other than that, I've been self-employed. I worked for a tree surgeon, just like casually part-time for a bit of pocket money after college, before uni. And it was just a case of doing something physical, bit of fun, bit of pocket money, would help fund new skateboards and days out or trips to London and whatnot, wherever I went. I really enjoyed it though. Good work, good guy to work for. When I then went to uni, I had that whole ordeal, came out, ended up being a uni dropout, which I didn't discover until I was like in business. But the week I came out of uni, when life was all falling apart, I didn't know what I was doing, I'd lost direction, felt like I was failing at life and that was it, it's over. I got a phone call that week of like, Hayden, I need someone, are you free tomorrow? I'm really short, I'm in the shit, I need someone to come work with me on this job, someone's just let me down, are you available? And I was like, am I available? I've got nothing to do with my life, so yes, I'm available. Went and done the day, it was great. Like, I picked it up again, it was like muscle memory. There was bits, I remember vividly the day. I know the tree, I know the job, and I really enjoyed the day. I mean, it's hard graft, but got stuck in. And after the end of the day, it was just like, yeah, if you're interested in more work then, I'll probably have some more days coming up if this person had let him down or whatever. I can't remember the details of it. I think someone didn't show up and then they just disappeared. Can't remember, don't quote me on that. But I was keen for it and obviously I had nothing else to do. It was only ever casual though, so it was like 3 days a week, 4 at a push, and often it would be less. The guy I worked for, he had the business part-time, still does. This is where I would say I got introduced to money and wealth because of the clients we were working for. Some of the houses, like some of it was going to were like poorer people that just had this tree that had become a problem that needed to be sorted and they had to like scrimp every penny they had to get it done. Whereas other times we were going to estates of multi-millionaires where they've got their lands, their woodland, and we had some jobs that were amazing of just like being in woodlands, just going through, coppicing different trees and just basically tending to the woods, keeping them managed and well looked after. Before this point, I'd always seen rich people as just like right place, right time, lucky. That's how you get rich. As I started out on my own, I then realised what the opportunities were. And mine all started with, I was doing part-time, as I said. I needed to fill up the diary full-time. It was like, I was getting older, I was 20 odd, 21. Family's like, come on, you're the man out of the house. You need to like get a career, get sorted out with work. I really liked doing the tree work, but then was limited because it wasn't full-time. So I started looking at other avenues. Could I get a Saturday job in a coffee shop? Could I work for other tree surgeons? Could I get a gardening job? Could I get some sort of vocation? I actually really wanted to be a firefighter and I applied. There was something like 24 positions and over 2,000 people applied and that was it. I didn't even get through to the first process. I tried for other things like family members work for National Grid, tried for National Grid, went through multiple different application processes, didn't get a job. Couldn't even get a job in a coffee shop. I did a trial shift in the coffee shop, didn't get a job. Applied for gardening jobs, didn't even get a call back. It's like really being hit hard here in terms of like feeling quite deflated. I'm like 20 years old. I have a lot of free time, which is amazing. Like I can go skating all the time, don't have any money, don't have any savings. Really stuck for what I'm gonna do and what do I wanna do for my life. I can't work it out and I don't know. And it was on a job in a domestic customer's garden and the gardener was there showing up. The guy I worked for, he like knew of the garden or whatever, so they was just like chatting and stuff and I was like, oh, has he got any jobs going? Do we know? Has he got any work? Can I like, the days I'm not working for you, I can work for him? Do we know this? And I think he like mentioned to him, and then while the guy was finishing up and moving on to the next job, I was just like, oh yeah, good to me, yeah. Like, oh, you haven't got any work going, have you? I'm like a gardener. I was like trying to sell myself, like, yeah, I'm a gardener, but you know, I'm looking for work. I work for Carl doing tree surgery, but I need some garden work as well in between when I'm not working for him. And he didn't, unfortunately. He was like, no, sorry, I haven't. He was like, although I cut next door's grass and they need all their beds sorted out, I don't want to do the job. So if you want to do it, like, price it up, and it's yours. Price it up. How the hell do I do that? I go in, speak to this customer, and I sort of came up with this gauge of like how long it would take me. Price it, get the job. And to her, 450 quid. She's like, yeah, go on then. I'm like, 450 quid. The worst part of this job, there was a driveway, only like 6-7 feet wide. It was about 100 foot long, made up of like these stones that were like this big. Just had weeds growing up between them. I'm new to the industry, I don't really know much. And rather than just like spraying it, sweeping it down so it's cleared, I started at 8 AM, I was on site, and I didn't finish until 7 PM. This was in the summer, luckily. I ate my sandwich while I was scraping the weeds. I got a fork and was just like scraping all the weeds in between, all the way down. Literally took me all day long. Something happened to me that day, like in my head, in my mind. To do that monotonous task, 11 hours straight, breaks you. But 90% of the way there, and you're like, still have so much time to go. I've still got like more than an hour of this. It was like a form of torture, just like all day scraping these weeds. That was the first introduction to me having like a business. Done this and thought, this works. Where I'd worked for a small business, I'd learned like the inside outs of it. I'd done paperwork days, job quoting, what stuff costs. I didn't know in relation to gardening, I just knew for tree surgery. As a result of that, it taught me a lot in getting started. And then as I've moved away, it's taught me a lot of like how not to do things in terms of being efficient. And everybody's got their own way of working. The guy I worked for, he wanted his business his way. Just he himself was the business. So he didn't want to build a company and such, and he wanted to do things the way he wanted to, which is like, that's what he wanted and that's what he's got, so that's perfect. I was very different. I wanted to be efficient. I didn't want to be on a job all day long, and regardless of how a job was priced out and what we'd allocated time-wise, I was like, get in, get the job done. Like, I enjoy this work, but I don't want to do it all day. Ideally, yeah, we'd start at like 7:30 or something and be done by like 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, whereas our days were like 7 till 5. They were 10 hours long. Constantly, I'd analysing the day and seeing where we could save time here, there, everywhere to chop things down and be more efficient. Strategies of like how we took a tree down, how we got it from the ground to the chipper through. Once that's done, what's going to be the quickest thing? So I was always quite focused on that and being efficient. So that's what I applied to my business. Then I learned how to scale, how to grow. I'd done this first job. Gardener then passed me more work and carried on the jobs he didn't want. I actually come on to become one of my best mates now that we speak to every day about all kinds of different things, and he's actually the guy that introduced me to trading. So, and I know you're watching, so hi. And then I started picking up other bits of garden work. I got some like leaflets made, some polos made, and it all started to feel real then. I was still like driving around in my car that I'd inherited from my granddad that was like this old Mark IV Fiesta. Proper professional. Even before this though, I started learning about ideas of how to draw and bring work in. The guy I worked for in tree surgery, I had conversations about him, how he was bringing work in. He'd had times, like, especially in the winter, like struggling to get work where, as I said, I was only doing 3 days a week, but sometimes in winter it was a day a week. I was then learning how he was bringing work in, and I was starting to think like, right, there's got to be other ways we can do it. And I'm like, right, how many jobs have you got this week? Like, have you chased them up? And he was always the philosophy, no, I give them the price, I walk away. Whereas I was very different in business. I was like, always like trying to get the answer and if they don't want the job done, why don't they want it done? Who have they gone for? Why have they gone for them instead? Just try and gather as much data as possible to ascertain how you can improve to make a better service. I remember in my car he had this like sign for the business with the wrong mobile number, so I like cut out the right number and like stuck a load of paper down onto the sign, so then it had the business, had the number, and I like, stuck that out my car window to try and go along and find some work. It never worked. Start picking up a few odd jobs here and there, pick up a couple of regulars, get myself a mower in the sow at Wicks. Time goes on, like fast forward, I ended up getting enough work, building it up, get myself a van. From that moment, carried on, started building up a regular diary where I've got slots of regulars in different areas. So then I have like my Higham day, my Rochester day, my Dartford day. I have the odd few days where I have quite a few big clearances come in where I just call on a couple of mates that know a bit about gardening to come and help me out for the day. That starts going really well. Pick it up, I then take on someone that's going to be self-employed like part-time, and then that gradually works some more and more and more. Took them on. They ended up staying with me for like 6 months and they moved on. I realised a lot of issues of what I did there are just terrible ways of taking people on. I remember the first time I recruited, I just stuck something on Facebook with like jobs going. I set up interviews for everyone and I think 2 people showed up for an interview, and then of the 2 people I had the person I wanted to pick, and they supposed to start on a Monday, and then I got a text from his wife that was like, sorry, my husband can't make an appointment tomorrow. I rang the other guy who was like far more appreciative and excited and couldn't believe he'd been offered a job. I at this point was still working for the tree surgeon I was working for. It then started to become like the days I wasn't doing tree work, I was obviously doing my own garden jobs, and then it got to a point where the guy that worked for me for long enough that he started to know the ropes of it. I started sending him out on jobs when I was out doing tree work, which was just like blowing my mind. I was like, I'm out doing a tree job and I got someone out gardening for me. I had this weird ego moment where like, I remember being on customers' jobs and stuff, and I wasn't the guy running the job, and I was a bit like, in my head I'm like, I'm not just the groundsman here. I also have my gardener out doing jobs for me. The ego goes on weird little ventures. With this, where I was like picking up works and such, I'd learnt from tree work, and the guy that actually I worked for suggested, he was like, well, if you ever get tree jobs, you know how to price tree work. You know what it takes to get a job done. Go and price it. We were working with each other. I'd work for him, he'd work for me. So then we started having days where we was on my tree job, but then I've got my guy out gardening for me as well. That was just like blowing my mind, realising how much money could be made and stuff, going from like this kid earning like a day rate that was nothing to then suddenly making decent money, what felt like. That just progressed, and then it got to the point where I got too busy. I had to like let go a day of tree work. As I said, I was doing 3 days, but then I got too busy. I took on this massive contract. I had a dream when I started my business in the first year I wanted to get a 5-figure contract, and I did it. And that's when I started letting go of tree work. I was often going out Saturdays and Sundays to do garden work as well. Where I was still getting tree work in, it then got to a point where it was like half and half. So on Mondays we'd do my tree job, Thursday I'd work for him, and then it started being like I had jobs to do Thursday as well. So then it just ended up I would only do jobs when they were mine. I started stepping away from being on the tool so much on the tree work. So I was then focusing full time on gardening. So I was out gardening 5 days a week, subbing these other jobs out. I had someone working for me, unfortunately left. And it was only just due to the fact that I couldn't offer much security, and they got offered quite a nice cushy job that involved working not so hard and not in the rain. That was my first introduction of staff leaving, which was something I didn't realise would be so abundant in my life. I just want to like fast forward past this part. But yeah, built the team up, took people on, had different people self-employed, eventually managed to employ people. It scaled and scaled, kept getting busy, learned more about how to market, how to close sales, started working on becoming more efficient, looking at the operations, looking at like paying people's wages, employed people. Got to a point where the company at its peak was around about 9 people. That was when things got really well. The company was turning over 25, 30 grand a month. It was really great, really interesting. All through like the pandemic hit, lost all the staff, lost loads of work, built it back up again, got more staff, got more work. Literally it was a case of like, we were building up work as quickly as we went, like just a bit quicker than what we were losing it, where people were losing jobs, uncertainties, all of this kind of thing, constant juggle of just everything. I've never known anything so busy. And post-pandemic, I just one by one lost all my stuff. And I'll do this in a whole other video. I want to dive deep into this story because there's a lot of emotions and mental battles here and real reflections on how I screwed up as a boss, what mistakes I made. But where this was all happening with the garden company, I was starting to really fall out of love with the company and didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I love being creative, I love making videos, I love making content, marketing ideas for the company. That kind of thing I really was attached to and felt intrinsic motivation to do it. The battle to get off the tools was the biggest thing. And I've actually written a book called Off the Tools. It's 70,000 words, and I've just never released it because I never actually succeeded in getting off the tools. There's a lot of valuable information, but I never succeeded in getting off the tools properly. I went through spits and spats of it and phases where I could be off the tools. There never was a day that I woke up and didn't have to check my phone to see who wasn't in and who I was going to have to cover. But I've never released the book. If you think I should release the book, let me know. Losing my staff one by one and then realising I've got nothing left, and it just felt like this is, again, another video I want to go into is just like really facing your failures head on and overcoming them. What I've done now with the business is I've reduced it right down, as you know if you've watched other videos. I've just got my own part-time round of the favourite customers, the most profitable ones, and customers that I get along with that I don't really see. There's only a couple that I see, and when I do, it's a nice friendly chit-chat, cup of tea, cup of coffee, crack on, get it done, just work efficiently. Kind of flexible with me. Like for example today, I didn't get to bed until late, so I got up a bit later today, went and got the garden jobs done, back home and I'm making videos. Because I've managed to, in this time, like I've been so frugal throughout my entire life. And then that money I've put into savings to like look to one day buy a house. But also what I've done is invested a lot of my money. Most of my money is invested and has gained a return, unrecognised. And then also I've learned other ways of making money. I've made money in different industries and there's things that I haven't told. Here's a little inset. I also became an author and I literally made like £6 out of that, a tenner at a push. But there was that income stream. I've done day trading where I've made money there and still continue to try not to lose money. So I've managed to get to a point where I am now in a position that my business of gardening, I only do part-time. So I'm now a 25-year-old where I go out and do a bit of gardening part-time and spend the rest of my time in recreation. That recreation is making videos that may one day be monetized, and it's also skateboarding that I don't really want to monetize in any way. Aside from that, I'm playing with stocks and shares and trading and investing. Hence why my friends have decided that I'm now semi-retired at 25. That's how I achieved it. Hope the story's been helpful. If it hasn't, sorry I've wasted a load of your time. I'm sure there's some value to take away. And if you have enjoyed the video, make sure to like, hit subscribe on the channel, and I will see you in the next one.